Wait, you have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV. Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hey everybody, welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. As always, I am Ken Reed, your TV guidance counselor, on hiatus, Boston-based stand-up comedian, talking to interesting people each and every week about the difficult viewing choices of our collective past, using back issues of TV Guide magazine as the gateway into our brains. This week's brain is an excellent one. My guest this week is comedian Brandie Posey, and Brandie is somebody you may know from the Lady to Lady podcast or the Picture This show, which is really fun, or her stand-up in general. But she is my guest this week. Want to have her on for a really long time. I've known her for like 12 years, I think. She mentions in the show here that she moved to LA about 12 years ago to first do stand-up, and I think that must have been when I met her. We did we were in a show called What's Up Tiger Lily together, and she hosted. That's also where I met James Adomian for the first time. And since then, we've done a bunch of festivals together, Bridgetown and Riot LA and SF Sketchfest and all kinds of fun stuff back in Beforantine. But she was very funny and interesting and a big ska fan. Oddly, we didn't talk about that at all. She often comes to Boston for the Bosstown's Hometown Throwdown and didn't even mention it. I'm surprised. Anyway, had a great time talking to her, and I think you will have a great time hearing me talk to her. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Brandie Posey.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
From trafficy Los Angeles, Brandie Posey, how are you?
I am doing great. Currently not in traffic. Was about 15 minutes ago. But
yeah.
I was looking forward to this already, and I'm looking forward to it even more now after not being in my car for an hour.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten, I mean, obviously COVID was a thing, but I'm surprised we haven't gotten like a traffic-based podcast.
I mean, honestly, it is surprising because I get wild in my car on the phone with people sometimes because you're reacting to everything around you. It's I think it's a good way to really truly know who somebody is, to hear them and the way they are with
Go with me on this. I know you're not a network executive, but let's just say you were.
Okay.
We're pitching a show. We're going to call it the 405, right? Mm-hmm. And it takes place in a COVID world, so we just have individual people in their cars talking to people. Don't have to worry about people interacting with each other.
Yeah.
That way.
I'm into it. I love it. I love it.
All right.
There was a time pre-COVID that I actually I could do it now, I guess. I wanted to start a podcast that was just like me driving around with somebody for half an hour, hearing about something that they hated, and then listening to like 3 songs together that would like pump, that are like your car jams.
Right.
So I thought it would be really fun just to like know, like, what is it like to be, what is the song that you're pumping in the car? That I was like, I don't actually like that much music. Yeah. A tiny mini road trip up and down the street, up and down the road.
Yeah. I do miss driving in my car a little bit because that is where these days I listen to the most music because I'm like, oh, these are the best speakers I own.
I know.
I'm like, this is great. So when I asked you to do the show, you kind of immediately, and I thank you for this, actually sent me the exact issue you wanted. Which is November 18th to the 24th, so Thanksgiving week 2000. And the reason you wanted this one was...
I'm a massive Jim Carrey fan, and he is on the cover of it. And I have this physically at home in my parents' house in Maryland still. Because I have all my magazines from him that I used to collect. I definitely still have this.
And you're still a massive Jim Carrey fan?
I mean, it's the same way that like the things you loved as a child. Are you still like a fan? You have a nostalgia for them. You love them. I mean, he hasn't done anything egregious, so I'm yes, I still am a fan.
He's done Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, that's like definitely the worst thing that he's done. And, not great, but vaccinated now at least.
That's true. And I enjoy his artwork on Twitter. What was the first thing you saw him in that like sparked your love of Jim Carrey?
Oh, Ace Ventura 2, When Nature
2?
Calls. Yeah, I remember being in theaters. It was the first movie that I saw in theaters. I'd never seen the first one, but I knew that all my friends were obsessed with it, and I dragged my grandmother to take me and my brother to go see Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. And my Sicilian Catholic grandmother hated me for the rest of her life because I took her to go see that movie.
Yeah, that is not a movie for grandmothers, let alone Sicilian Catholic grandmothers.
No.
How hard did she grip her rosaries during the entire film?
I mean, honestly, for the rest of her life, the only question that she would ask me was, "Do you still like that Jim Carrey?" And I would say yes, and then she would never have a follow-up question. She was so disappointed in me.
Well, she missed out on the modern day Frank Capra stuff of The Majestic and, the feel-good Jim Carrey stuff later.
Majestic is a wild movie for those that have not seen it, by the way.
It is one that's kind of fallen through the cracks with his. It was just at the edge of his transition into him now. Like, it wasn't a wacky. I weirdly knew him pre and Living Color.
Oh, really?
Because I was a huge fan of the movie Once Bitten.
Oh, yeah. Once Bitten rules.
Yeah, that movie is one of the reasons I love LA.
Yes, totally.
Have you ever seen the guy who wrote it? It was all over the internet, early internet days. I'm talking 20 years ago. He wrote this essay about his experience writing that movie, and it was insane because he wrote it and it got bought and sort of they changed a lot of it. And then when it came out, he was working at a Suncoast Video. Yes. And when it came out on video, his coworkers would put it on to taunt him while he's vacuuming.
Oh my God. I miss a Suncoast Video. That was my place at the mall.
And this is, you grew up in Maryland, Baltimore area?
Yeah, right outside of Baltimore. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I haven't been there in years. When I was in my punk band, we played some pool hall down there with the Casualties and a band called The Goons, who I think were from Baltimore.
That sounds Baltimore does have a lot of goons, so there probably was a band called The Goons.
Yeah, it sounded right. And I was just upset that we didn't get to see a very John Waters-y Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was...
you just got to stick around a little bit longer, and then that Baltimore does exist. It's just around the corner most of the time.
Is there a movie or a TV show that best represents the Baltimore that you grew up in?
Oh, The Wire. No, not at all.
Well, I knew that you were an undercover cop for a lot of years.
That's me. That's absolutely me. Now, it's funny because people do associate Baltimore. They're like, oh, Baltimore, The Wire. And I'm like, parts of Baltimore, yes, but I'm from a suburb.
Yeah, parts of everywhere, The Wire.
Yeah. I was from a suburb that is very... where I grew up, it's very weird because it's between Baltimore and DC, and everyone's parents are mostly work for DC. So it's there's just a lot of people whose parents are spies, and you just don't know what they did.
Right.
So my next door neighbor growing up was a Secret Service guy, and I would just see him outside painting his fence white and just be like, that man's going to get shot for the president someday.
Yeah.
Weird that you're next door.
Or I know that at least 80% of you have killed somebody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not to bring up 9/11 8 minutes into a podcast, but
well, normally we get 5 minutes in, so you're already ahead of the game.
Oh, okay, great, perfect. Well, that was such a strange day because no one knew where their parents were, because everyone's parents were at work or were out of town doing who knows what. So it was just a very crazy day at school about just wait, oh no, and my dad's just an accountant who doesn't work for the government, so I was cool, but everyone, literally most people that I knew were I don't know where my mom is. I was oh God.
I mean, that's the story your dad's told you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, if you were gonna be a spy, the best cover story is I'm an accountant.
Exactly. They call me the accountant.
Yeah.
I clean the books.
I make the books balance.
Yeah.
It's a zero sum. Or a good quip would be you just avoided your taxes. Right after you kill someone, something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. We're gonna write off your head this year.
You just been audited. So at first I was oh, Jim Carrey, it's weird that he's on the cover of TV Guide. But then thinking about it, most people first got to know him from television and Living Color, and then he starred in the Duck Factory for half a season, which was not popular when it first aired, but Comedy Central bought it in like the 90s and aired that thing. It's like 8 episodes, and they ran them about 700 times for some reason.
Yeah, they aired the hell out of it, and it's so interesting too because they like Jim Carrey plays kind of a straight man character in that show. He's not what you would think he is at all anymore.
He's like a Midwestern rube, like a wide-eyed innocent, which is what he was in Once Bitten as well, which is, very far away from his stand-up and from things like Fire Marshal Bill, which is pretty brutal. But so he's on the cover here, and it's because he's starring in The Grinch this year, which I think was probably... Would you say this is peak Carrey?
I think so. I think The Grinch is like... The Grinch is after The Truman Show. So it's kind of after the couple movies where he was like really going for like an Oscar, and The Grinch was his first like, okay, I'll do a kids movie. So it kind of, I really enjoy I think it's like, obviously it's not for me specifically because I was not a child in 2000, but it is very fun, I think, as far as kid movies go. And I know Paul Danke, a comic friend of mine, whose kids, this is their favorite version of The Grinch, is the Jim Carrey one.
Oh, weird. I will admit, never seen it. Never seen the Jim Carrey Grinch. Again, because I'm a couple years older than you, but so I was like definitely way out of the demographic. And although I love How the Grinch Stole Christmas, if you've ever seen the attempt at a Halloween Grinch special, Halloween is Grinch Night, which is god awful.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
You're lucky. Because if you think about it, you're like, wow, the Grinch is so popular. Clearly, they should have made a sequel to it, and they did, and it's awful. And I was like, all I want is Grinch Stole Christmas. Don't go back to this well. This is a one-time thing. It's not going to work again. But I know people who like this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really fun, and it's Ron Howard directed it, and it's Jim Carrey being really silly, and like you really like obviously when it's just like him like in his human bodysuit, it just like some of his act outs are so outlandish and so cartoonish looking, and you can be like, okay, that's crazy looking, but to see him do it inside of a costume, he really brings like a physical character to life in a way that you just don't see that much, because especially now we have I feel like people it would be CGI'd now, and you just lose that like the physicality of like the physical suit, and like there's it's funny because this is the article that I read it in, but there is when he was doing this in the costume, he had these yellow contacts that had to fit inside of his entire eye, so like
scleral lenses, the big glass ones.
Yeah, and he and the makeup, I think, for getting into the Grinch costume took him like 7 or 8 hours a day. Like, it's a crazy amount of makeup. And he had a Navy SEAL that like taught him how to like deal with like just like the pain of needing to like sit in costume and like just like channel like himself. Like a Navy SEAL taught him how to meditate so he could make this movie, basically. Yeah,
I mean, I've heard that. Like, I talked to Michael Chiklis, and he was saying that in the first Fantastic Four movie. Mm-hmm. He had an immediate panic attack in the Thing suit, and he freaked out. And first of all, he was like, "They made a full body suit. I'm wearing pants. Why do I need the full?" I couldn't move, and so they had to have people come in and like coach him how to meditate and like deal with claustrophobia, which is not something you think of when you're like movie star.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, but yeah, I mean, it was. I remember reading about that in this TV Guide issue, and being like, "Whoa, there's more to it than I would have ever considered."
I think he suffers from the same thing that Robin Williams did, in that people would hire him and be like, "Okay," and then you do your Jim Carrey thing, instead of like giving him actual direction. And if he's sort of pointed in the right direction, he does great stuff. But if they're just like, and then you go crazy, it's like, no one do about that.
Yeah, you really kind of need to know how to use him the right way. I find that Nick Cage falls into a similar category for me too, where if somebody like appreciates his work and really knows when to let him loose and when to pull him in, and like how to use those moments, then they do things that like nobody else could do. Like nobody else could do half the performances Jim Carrey's done. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that they're like him or hate him. Like, that is who this guy is and like what he is capable of, and nobody can touch him in a lot of things.
I feel like Nick Cage too is one of those guys who does the Marlon Brando thing where he's clearly fucking with people and just wants someone to tell him to shut up or say no to him. Totally. And when they don't, he just keeps going further and further. And at this point in his life, he may be too far gone where now he just is that all the time. And someone told me he picks a voice for every role. Have you heard this before? He picks a specific character's voice. And for the movie Vampire's Kiss, which is a crazy movie. Yeah. Do you know what voice he was using? And he revealed it to the director halfway through, and the director freaked out and tried to fire him.
No, is it shit. Oh, I can't hear it right now. Who was it?
Pokey from Gumby.
That's so funny.
Well, I don't know, Gumby. And then when you watch it, you're like, yep, that's exactly the voice he's doing.
That's so amazing. There's like, a really
why would you do that?
It's so interesting to hear like the methodology behind these performances that seem insane, but like there's a really great GQ interview with Nick Cage where it's going through his most famous roles, and it's him talking about like the influences that he brings into each one, and like how in like Face Off, his like Castor Troy had a lot of like German expressionistic like faces and stuff that he wanted to bring to the character to really make it pop, and like like that, like Pokey, like weird references that you're like, right. Oh, I wouldn't have known that that's what was behind that character, but I love it. I love that you thought of it.
John Woo was probably like, yeah, whatever, dude. Fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just kick that thing. Yeah.
I also forgot how great The Cable Guy is, which is a totally underrated movie. And when you realize that pretty much everyone who set the tone for 21st century comedy, or at least the first 10 years, was involved with The Cable Guy in like 95. And it was a huge bomb.
Yeah.
It was just, but it's dark as hell. No one, I feel like that movie hasn't, its cult audience hasn't revisited and appreciated that movie yet.
It really hasn't, because it's really, it's actually like kind of one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. I mean, I was like a senior in high school or a junior in high school when it came out, and it just like, or no, that's not true actually. Cable Guy is like
96,
97, 96. Yeah. I just watched it. My senior year of high school, I like watched it. That was like my like comfort movie. I like went to sleep like every night to it basically. But it's so funny. It's also like, it weirdly made him this underdog for me after that too, because like he, everyone just like, at that moment, I remember people being like, oh, it's going to bomb. Jim Carrey's gone too far. Because he had paid $20 million to make it. It was the highest payday a comedic actor had ever gotten at that point. And when people started turning on him, I was like, no, but this is good. And it kind of dug me in as a fan harder than before. And I to this day have not missed the opening night of a Jim Carrey movie since Ace Ventura 2.
Wow. I'm pretty impressed by that.
Thank you. That is a tradition that I have kept for a very long time and through some real questionable choices.
Absolutely. I wasn't going to say, but I'm glad you did.
Oh, I saw the number 23 in theaters. It was great. That movie's crazy. It's very fun.
I do love him in Lemony Snicket.
He's great in Lemony Snicket.
Really good. He is, in my opinion, best as a villain.
Yeah, I think so too. Did you see the new Sonic?
No, but is he good as he's Dr. Robotnik, right?
He makes the movie. He's so funny. I saw it twice, and I did not expect to like it as much as I did, but he's so funny in it. I loved it.
All right, I'll put it on the list. I will watch it.
Highly recommend. It's very silly, but he's great.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. It'd be really weird if they were like, we're doing a really serious take on the Sonic genre. It's a real dark,
gritty.
Yeah, it's a real
gritty Sonic reboot.
Sure, for adults, it's urban. It's the Snyder cut of Sonic that everybody's going to want to watch. It's mostly about Knuckles.
Exactly. I would like to see a Robotnik, like a Joker style Robotnik movie of just like the Robotnik backstory that has him like dancing on a set of stairs in slow motion and terrorizing the city. Yeah, I'd be very into that.
I always thought like his Riddler is very Frank Gorshin in the Batman movie, but I'm not big on like real world dark takes on comic books, and I'm a huge comic book guy. But I feel like he would have done the Riddler as a really cool, like weird serial killer. Like almost like a not lame version of Jigsaw from the Saw movies.
Yeah.
And that would have been cool if like Carrey did that, but you know, they went the other way. So before we dive into the listings here, I do want to mention since Thanksgiving week, there is an amazing section of celebrities giving recipes for Thanksgiving.
I know. Yeah, those were a trip.
Paul Sorvino's shrimp is the first one on here, which sounds like a racehorse. Zach Ward's Thanksgiving casserole, which is real generic. And people don't know Zach Ward. He was Scut Farkus in A Christmas Story. Then we have Justina Val's roasted root vegetables. I have no idea who she is.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, yeah. Charmin Lee's autumnal greens, also don't know who she is. And those are the 4 recipes that they have in here. I wonder if anyone ever made those.
I honestly do not know. I would be furious if any of these showed up on my Thanksgiving, though.
Do you think that year somebody made them and brought them to a party and was like, you know, those are Paul Sorvino shrimp?
I might do it this year. Now that I have this recipe back in my life.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey guys, and now it's a party.
Would you do it in a way that you presented it as that at first, or would you let people eat it first and then do the reveal?
What I'd like to do is have a dish of Paul Sorvino's face with the shrimp on it, and then as they eat the shrimp, his face is revealed.
And you could be like, it'd be like classic concentration. You're like, can you guess whose shrimp this is?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I would like to see happen.
Which is, I feel like for some of those people, they'd eat the whole dish, get to the picture and be like, I still don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
who Zach Ward
is.
Yeah. Do you work with this guy? Yeah.
Who's this like weird child in the bottom? This child man.
Some dude from The Office? Not the show, like your actual office. So let's dive in here. Saturday night, 8:00. What'd you do?
Okay, so I picked the movie Twister, mostly because the description of the movie Twister, I don't know if you saw it or not, spectacular special effects offset a flimsy plot in this story of divorcing scientists who are obsessed with tracking tornadoes in Oklahoma. And that's just
2 stars.
It's an insane way to describe the movie Twister, but also very accurate.
My favorite thing, too, is it's a movie they're playing on TV, but they write repeat. Like they're really twisting the knife on that one.
Yeah, don't worry. We know. And just honestly, whenever Twister is on, I will just watch a little bit of Twister because it's just so funny to me.
I've never seen it.
I love it. It's very ridiculous. It's Bill Paxton. Not my favorite of the famous Bills, but a close second to the Pullman of it all.
Paxton is great though. Like
he is great.
Weird Science,
they're
Near
both
Dark.
Top tier.
Yeah. But I've never seen Twister. I for whatever reason it just didn't appeal to me in '96. I don't know why.
I would add that to the list as well. It's very fun. It's Phillips Seymour Hoffman is in it and is very fun in it. Wait, am I right about that? Hold on. I'm pretty sure I am.
It's 3 hours with commercials. That's a commitment.
But I honestly, at this point, commercials are they're like kind of a novelty when I see like some like a bunch of commercials. I'm always like, whoa, weird. Oh yeah, Phillips Seymour Hoffman, Carrey Elwes is in it, Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt.
I do love Carrey Elwes. Good as well. Speaking of Saw movies, one of the things about Twister is hilarious to me is, you know how in the 90s there were a bunch of like ridiculous trends, some of which have still, although mutated a little bit, are popular today, like ghost hunters and like extreme sports, like we still have them, but storm chasers for like a very small amount, like a minute after Twister was out, was like we're and that just did not continue. No,
it didn't, because I think the equipment is very expensive and it's very dangerous, but also mostly boring, I think.
Yeah, like no one's impressed. They're like, look how close I got to this Twister, and you're like, why'd you do that?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I think people all saw the movie Twister and were like, I don't want to. That doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like you get paid enough to do that.
Right.
Maybe don't drive into a tornado.
In the words of Shania Twain, that don't impress me much. Cops is on that night, and by 2000, Cops is fully leaned into being absolute trash.
Fully.
They are
don't think that I wouldn't switch over during commercial breaks to Cops.
I loved
that
it.
Definitely would happen.
I can't watch it now. It makes me sad. Like just really sad. But when it first started, it was like an interesting show. Like they would follow a person to like booking and like it was like a true documentary. And then they realized we'll just do theme specials, including a Christmas special all about prostitutes that they called Ho Ho Ho's. No lie.
Oh man.
They had several taser specials, like just awful, but very Fox if you think about it.
It's extremely, I mean, it's very on brand for Fox. I'm glad that we as a culture we haven't progressed that much, but at least we progressed past that.
Yes.
Hopefully. Yes. I mean, oof.
It's bad.
What depressing progress.
Yes, I know. It's minor, but it's depressing. This is high-speed motorcycle chases, cops in Seattle. And then America's Most Wanted is getting super tough guy. This is tonight. We're coming to your state. John Walsh is going coast to coast to take down the nation's 50 most wanted fugitives, one in each state. A special event. America's Most Wanted. America Fights Back.
Hell yeah. I'm extremely into that description. Also, I love that it's a John Walsh episode as opposed to who's the dude that took it over later?
Way later.
America's Most Wanted. It's what's his name? Hosts. It's the former cop guy. What's his name?
Dennis Farina?
Dennis Farina.
No,
yeah.
he did Unsolved Mysteries later.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting them confused with each other. Just kidding.
I feel like if Farina hosted America's Most Wanted, he would have captured every one of those fugitives himself personally in like one season.
Yeah, he'd be like, don't even call the FBI. Bring them to my house. I'll beat the shit out of them and they'll never do it again.
We'll have a little chat. It'll be fine. I'll go talk to him. But I love the fact that, ostensibly this is like a reality show that's supposed to be like a public service. And, you know, you and I, knowing people who work in the industry, having written on TV shows or anything like that, know that there was a writer's room where they're trying to like pitch the season for this. And they're like, I got a great idea. A criminal in every state. We go on a tour, all 50 states, like just trying to pitch stupid crap about actual fugitives.
Totally. It's insane. And like, I mean, do they still make it or is the show done now?
I feel like it might still be on, although like Cops moved to a cable channel and it's still being made. I don't know if it's still on. I'm also picturing like some states that didn't have a criminal and they're like, we got to do all 50 and be like, there's no one in North Dakota.
We don't
Make
want
one
that
up.
to happen. Oh man. Yeah. It's my roommate has a crazy story about how she went on a date with a sound guy and great first date. They went to Nick Cave, had
nice.
a great, awesome time. And then he never called her again because he was an audio the sound guy on Cops and he got shot the next night and died from shooting cops.
He might be the only one who's died on that show.
He might be. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just truly insane.
But did she get free Nick Cave tickets?
She did.
Worth it.
Don't worry.
Also, that's kind of in keeping with that sounds like a Nick Cave song.
Yeah, absolutely. If Nick Cave would be like, that's what I want to happen at all my shows.
Doing a murder ballads
die,
too.
but I want that level of sadness and loss to really perforate the.
It'll be fantastic. Also want to mention on Saturday night before we move on to Sunday, there is a great full page ad in here for Sheena, the Gina Lee Nolan of Baywatch fame, jungle show that came out in the wake of Xena, which I think they were really hoping someone confused Sheena with Xena and was like, whatever, this seems right.
You guys get it? Whatever, it's fine.
Same thing. It's an Ina, and it's a woman, and she's barely clothed. And she becomes a monster in this episode, so it says the beauty is the beast. But I'm like, all right, full page ad here. And then I look, and the show is on at 1:05 a.m. Like somebody paid for a full page ad for a show that's on at 1:05 a.m.
Bless its heart, man. Those are like those little just like 5-minute off shows. I was always like, what's happening here?
Oh yeah, after midnight, all rules were off. It was like stuff isn't starting at the right times anymore. Or like post Saturday Night Live on a Saturday, anything could be on.
Wild West, 100%.
There was a show on around this time, year 2000, that was on, I think 2 or 3 a.m. was a syndicated show called Maximum Exposure. And it was insane. It was sort of like what like Tosh did later, sort of, but without like an on-camera host. It was this super snarky voiceover guy who actually was the voice of the Disney Channel for years. He's a guy who talks like this.
Oh,
Disney Channel. Like you've heard his voice. And it would just be footage of like, here's a bunch of savages in Brazil. They don't even wear clothes. Like it was just like weird news footage and super offensive, like racist commentary. And couldn't get enough of it.
That's perfect.
And this year, actually, 2000, I worked at our local CBS affiliate. And that's who aired Max X. And when the tapes would come in, I forget, I must have mentioned it to the programming guy that I watched the show. And one week he just hands me the tape and he goes, you know, it's probably just easier for me to hand you this tape since you're the one who watches this show.
Yeah.
He didn't hand it to me, but he joked about it. Sunday, what'd you do?
So Sunday starts off with, let me get to it. Sunday starts off, I'm going to watch Touched by an Angel for an hour because that show is crazy.
It really is.
Absolutely crazy. And then just to pair it well with, I'm going to flip over to the X-Files for the next hour just to really cement how I feel about God in the afterlife.
So
I believe in aliens, but not angels.
Different extraterrestrial beings.
Yes, exactly.
Oddly, 7 p.m. on Sunday, I just noticed Maximum Exposure is on. And it says, a look at survivors of near-death experiences, which sounds like the most respectful version of that show ever. But when they say that, it's probably more just like footage of dudes getting set on fire. Touched by an Angel is a show I've seen maybe 3 episodes of. And you're right, it is insane. Like the plots on that show are crazy. There is one, I can't remember who the actress was. It was like a prominent teenage actress, and the episode is all about a summer camp for kids with AIDS.
Yep.
Like what?
Yep.
What? So this episode is very special. Touched by an Angel, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you saw what it was, but this is Betsy's Choice. This powerful episode tackles the delicate subject of post-abortion syndrome. I just didn't know then what it would feel like now, says Betsy Baxter, a childless woman, about her decision 15 years earlier to end her pregnancy so she could pursue a career. Like, this is such a propaganda, like, you will regret your decision.
Exactly. You'll regret it someday when you die alone in your job.
Oof, I'm shocked that they were able, like, that one is even more blatant than that show normally is.
It usually, yeah. Like, I remember one of my favorite ones is there is one of the teachers, one of the angels is a teacher, a substitute teacher. This little boy in the class who they're all presenting what they want to be when they grow up, and this little boy wants to be an assassin, like John Wilkes Booth. It's strange because he's a black child. Of course. So, but he literally wants to be like John Wilkes Booth. But then they go back in time. The angel tells him the story of John Wilkes Booth and how he and then you go back in time and there's angels trying to convince John Wilkes Booth not to kill the president.
You think angels could just flat out stop him?
You would think so. And they don't really try that hard. Is like the funny part. Like, I'm like, they really just were like, it's your eternal soul on the line. And he's like, nah, I hate that president. And they're like, well, we'll pray for you. And isn't that about what happens anyway?
They sent the angel equivalents of the people who take like 2-hour-long lunch breaks and fall asleep at their desk. Like, you guys I know you won't do it, but we got to check this off the list.
Totally. I haven't been able to find it, but there is in 2001, done to bring up 9/11 again, number 2, second time,
ding,
take
ding,
a shot,
ding.
everybody. The Christmas special is also the 9/11 episode.
If you're going to go big, you know?
I mean, I remember reading the description and screaming and being so excited. There is an ad for another episode of Touched by an Angel in here. That is not the one that's airing during this time, but I would like to let everybody know it's on page 72. Married co-hosts talk on the air, but not at home. Now, does the cancellation of their show mean the end of their marriage?
That's a real rip from the headlines right there. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's so funny.
Man, I remember, I think it was last year, Roma Downing is married to Mark Burnett. This and is one of the reasons we got stuck with Trump. And do you remember last year at the Emmys, he got in a fight with Tom Arnold? and she got knocked over, and it was like a whole thing.
No.
Oh, it was just insane. Yeah.
Oh, I don't, but it's perfect.
It was great. At 7 that night on Wonderful World of Disney, speaking of Christmas, in a non-9/11 special, this is a movie I had never heard of until I looked at this issue. And this is called Santa Who? And it stars Leslie Nielsen as Santa Claus. And this is the best plot. Leslie Nielsen stars as Santa Claus without a clue after taking a tumble from his sleigh. Stricken with amnesia, old Saint Nick finds work at a department store, as himself, naturally. Meanwhile, a cynical, Yule-bashing reporter, played by Stephen Eckholt, uses the nightly news to try to locate the lost home and family of the pathetic chap who seems to have a Christmas complex. But as the big day nears, a young holiday fan, played by Max Morrow, helps jog Santa's memory, perhaps just in time to save the season.
Wow.
And Max the Elf, speaking of In Living Color, is played by Tommy Davidson.
Damn, that is a movie of a time.
Yeah. Not a beloved film. I don't remember people who are like, every year I got to watch Santa Who.
No.
A real ripoff of Miracle on 34th Street, pretty much. I think. What are the chances that at some point Max the Elf, played by Tommy Davidson, does a rap? I'm thinking.
Oh God, I mean, definitely up there. I'd say I'm going to go 80-20. 80 for the rap.
I think 80-20 is probably about right.
Unless Tone Loc was available to do the post-credits rap himself, because that was how he was making his money for a big chunk of the 90s.
If there was a reindeer in it that was voiced by someone, it would be Tone Loc.
Man, if I was Tone Loc right now, I would have a podcast that was just me like doing raps of like what happens in the certain episodes of like The Office or something,
like a TV recap show.
Yeah, a TV recap show where it's just him like doing a freestyle about like literally like a 3-minute podcast that would happen every day of a recap of an episode, because that feels like the exact right Venn diagram that would like really get him back to the limelight.
Here's my suggestion: Funky Cold Modern Family.
Ooh, that's it. That's the one. Ding, ding, ding.
We did it. We did it. Perfect. So that's Sunday. Some good stuff there. Monday, what'd you do?
Monday, I don't even like them very much, but just out of solidarity for them being right, I would watch from at 8 to 9 o'clock Dixie Chicks on the Fly. Just because, I want to support them at all times, because, we were very horrible to them. And then at 9 to 10 o'clock, I would watch the WWF Monday Night Raw, baby. Were
you a big Monday Night Raw wrestling fan in general?
Not like huge, but like I love to follow it. I just it falls into a similar category as like as comic books and like I was just talking with my roommate about this, like watching anime, where it's like I'm a completionist with things, so I purposely don't get involved with things that would require like serialized versions of my time, basically. But whenever I would watch it, I loved it. So, and whenever I've like seen old footage of it now, it's always ridiculous. I always followed like a little bit of what was happening and stuff, but never like fully. But yeah, they're awesome. 90s wrestling was like the best.
This year, this was like full on when like Limp Bizkit and WWE were just the same thing. Like, I feel like the Family Values Tour and Monday Night Raw were kind of, you couldn't tell the difference at this point, would be my guess. And the interesting thing about Dixie Chicks here is I forgot how massive they were, because I know nothing about sort of 80s, 90s and on country music, like pop crossover country music. There's like maybe 3 acts I can name, them being one of them, because they were huge. And this is right before they got just vilified.
Right before.
It's probably the height of their fame. So they have a whole 2-hour concert on primetime on a network.
Yeah.
They won Entertainer of the Year. And a year later, they were just like persona non grata. They were in the Freedom Fries garbage bin.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, hey, maybe we shouldn't bomb other countries.
Yeah. Yeah.
We make up a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, Also, it says in the little description, they also display a comic flair and backstage skits with actor Andy Dick as a network consultant determined to make them change their style.
He should have been thrown in the garbage bin instead of them. Like if we could have like a
if we could do it over.
Yeah. He popped up in the weirdest places.
Yeah, I am fascinated by that like the idea of like what that would be. I actually want to see. I'm going to Google it later and see if I can find like any footage of that to be like, what was that bit?
Because nobody was this around the time. I think he had an MTV show around this time, maybe if I'm remembering.
He did called like The Assistant or something
like that. Yeah. But I don't think I don't know if anyone. I certainly haven't met them, but I don't know if anyone ever was an Andy Dick fan. But he was on the Ben Stiller show. Love the Ben Stiller show. He's the worst part. He's one of the worst parts on news radio, maybe Rogan. But that show behind the scenes was so good, they made him good. And then everything else he was ever in after, I'm like, I can't enjoy anything Andy Dick has done since then.
Well, it's interesting. I remember years ago when I first moved out to LA, a year, maybe like 12 years ago or something like that. So at the Bright Citizens Brigade Theater out here, they did a series. Actually, I think they only did the one show and then they stopped it because of what happened. But I
knew it would involve Andy Dick.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, so Comedy Death Ray Favorites were basically presenting movies that that meant a lot to them and had a lot to do with like how they saw the world and whatnot. And Bob Odenkirk was presenting Woody Allen's Bananas. And it's the only Woody Allen movie I've ever seen. I'd never seen it before that night, but I was like, all right, and this is also a long time ago before we knew how crazy things actually were with him. But I was like, yeah, all right, I'll go listen to Bob Odenkirk talk to me about why I should give a fuck about Woody Allen. I'll go do that. So we go, and it's Bob introducing the movie, and then Andy Dick comes in the back of the theater with like an entourage of like barely legal 18-year-old boys. And he's drunk, and he starts heckling Bob Odenkirk from the back of the theater, and Bob like is trying to play along with it for a minute, and then Bob just like drops all pretense, and he just goes, Andy, what are you doing here, man? Like, this is sad. It's not fun. And then Andy Dick goes, oh, what is this, Bob? Another one of your interventions? And then Bob Odenkirk goes, no, Andy, nobody will come for you anymore. And there's a theater full of people sitting and watching this happen. And we're all just like, oh, God.
But it seems like an Odenkirk bit to a degree.
It was not a bit. Feels like it could have been a bit. Was not a bit. Because then they kicked him. They ended up kicking him out of the theater, and then Bob just talked to us for a few minutes, and he was just like, Andy Dick is the most talented improviser I've ever seen, but nobody will work with him because he is a nightmare person and he will not address his demons. Yeah. Anyway, here's Bananas,
which weirdly, in hindsight, probably the best introduction of that movie.
Actually, it was. It was kind of a perfect intro to that thing. I do not remember that film because I was just sitting there going, what industry have I gotten myself into? That these are very famous people and they're very sad and broken. I don't understand what's happened here.
You inadvertently went to a comedy Scared Straight.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
You don't want to be in here, man.
Yeah.
You're going to be dealing with him. You're going to be trying to show a movie. Yeah, wow. Yeah. So Tuesday, what'd you do?
Well, Tuesday, there's just something called at 8:00 called Michael Richards that I just would like to know what that is.
Yep. This was his own show.
When did he have a show?
Oh, he had a show called The Michael Richards Show. He played a detective. And this was, they put a lot of money into it. This was when, Julia Louis-Dreyfus was doing, what was the show she did? Mm-hmm. It was a sitcom that was pretty popular. Obviously I can't think of the name of it now. New Adventures of Old Christine.
Oh, yes. So they were all trying to get their own spin-offs.
Right, and that show was on for like 8 seasons randomly. I don't think I've ever seen an episode of it. But Michael Richards, he was like the holdout. He was the longest one who went without getting his own show or like a post-Seinfeld show. And This was the show, and it's real bad. And also, if my timing is correct, I believe coincides with his Comedy Store incident.
Oh yeah,
which
I
is
think so,
one of the
too.
reasons that this got canceled. It was sort of like him. It was very silly, which is not a surprise.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was kind of him trying to do Columbo.
Oh, I see. Like trying to play up the character of it all. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it just
So
was not
the description of this episode is actually insane. An imposter played by Ed Begley Jr. borrows Vic's name. Stacy goes undercover as a forklift driver, and Kevin deals with a racist dog.
Yeah. Because I'm sure, I haven't looked it up, but I'm sure the writing staff was like killer on this show.
I'm sure.
They pumped a ton of money into it and it just didn't do well.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that at the same time, both Dag and Jag are on.
Yep.
on two different channels, very different shows.
You got to pick. Are you a Dag or are you a Jag?
I mean, I would like to think there are people tuning in, thought they were watching Jag, but instead got David Allen Greer's show at Delta Burke and were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's a lawyer in it, I think. No, he's a Secret Service guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Delta Burke plays the First Lady for some reason.
Yeah, gotcha.
Feels just like home for Washington. But David Allen Greer, I again would watch in anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he crushes everything constantly.
Probably my favorite Living Color alum.
I think so. I think he's I think he is.
I mean, obviously Jim Carrey for you.
Yeah. I mean, he's so phenomenally talented. Everything he does, he's just he just takes it to such a level. It's amazing.
And probably I feel like he's had the longest career. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't feel like I see anyone else, again, aside from Jim Carrey. Well, no, Jamie Foxx won an Oscar, didn't he?
Yeah, Jamie Foxx won the Oscar.
Sean Wayne's, I guess. Yeah, I'm totally wrong on this one.
That cast does pretty well. Jennifer Lopez.
It's true. Are we counting her as a cast member?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she was a Fly girl. She was part of it.
How mad do you think that Nicole, what's her name, white girl is? Who was in I think she was in every season of that show.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she's probably like, what the fuck?
Everybody
so hard.
Can you even give me a job in one of your sitcoms or your show? Dag and Jag, I'm watching Dag. And then Buffy and Angel are also on, which I didn't watch at the time.
I have watched, I've never really watched any Angel. I've watched most of Buffy. I enjoyed it. I wish I had watched it at the time that it was on, because it is one of those shows that I think is better week to week versus binging. But yeah, it's yeah. I
also noticed that earlier in the year 2000, so I think it was a mid-season replacement, Freaks and Geeks had started and was canceled, but the Family Channel, this is when they started re-airing Freaks and Geeks and aired the episodes that didn't air. So that was like a big deal.
Oh yeah, it is true. Oh, cool.
So that was on this night as well. Anything else on Tuesday?
Yeah, so I would do the Michael Richards show. I would do Third Rock from the Sun just because I love that show. French Stewart is a homie. We have him on Lady to Lady, my podcast, like every 100 episodes. He's
not a lady.
Guest. Yes, he's not a lady, but he is a French, and he is an alien, and we love him. And then at 9:00, I would do a show called Why Doctors Make Mistakes.
It's just a show about cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, I don't even know what that show is, but I just would like to watch people try to justify doctors doing a bunch of dumb shit.
Yeah, why would they're doctors are like, guys, can we produce a show that's just like, hey, it's on the Learning Channel.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that they bothered. So the show is called Why Doctors Make Mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. Most of us are probably like, mistakes. We understand what that show is about. And yet there's a sentence describing what the show is that says, doctors and nurses discuss how errors occur. Thank you for clarifying, just in case the very descriptive title did not give that one away.
Exactly. It's just like, thanks for that. It doesn't make me feel better.
No, not at all. I couldn't watch. This was back when TLC was like all surgery and medical stuff. They
were real into that for a while. They, man.
Yeah. And then it became stuff about was that show Kate +8 or something on TLC. That woman with all the kids and like super coupon people.
Yeah, we're past all the baby shows, right? I have 12 kids at once. Haha. Like, are people still care about that?
I hope not. Like, that was when we had like Octomom and all that crap.
Yeah, really awful.
Yeah, I'm glad we've moved past that as a society, right along with what we had discussed earlier with the cops.
Yeah, exactly. This is a nice look back and seeing like, oh, okay, well, at least that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, because a lot of ways you're like, oh, we were so much better off. But then a lot of these things I'm like, thank God that's buried in a deep hole. Someone salted and burned that forever.
Yeah.
Multiple baby shows are right up there with Storm Chasers at this point. Wednesday, what'd you do?
I would be flipping back and forth between History's Mysteries and Unsolved Mysteries. I think.
Oh, it's a double mystery night.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you think History's Mysteries was a show that they came up with the title first and then were like, any ideas?
Yes. Yeah, I think that they sold the title and then we're like, fuck, we gotta do something.
Because pretty much every mystery is a history mystery.
Yeah, if it happened in the past, then it's history.
Right. Unless there's a show that's like, because I would watch a show of future mysteries. I
like the idea of it just being just the JFK assassination for a million episodes in a row.
Or it's just angels trying to talk John Wilkes Booth out of assassinating everything. Like they couldn't do it. We don't know why. Although I guess in theory, all future things are mysteries.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be why you would differentiate between history's mysteries.
Exactly.
And then what else did you do?
And that we switched with Unsolved Mysteries, so we going back and forth because that's the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. And then honestly, at 9 o'clock, I would probably throw on Touched by an Angel again, just because I can't get enough of that crazy ass show.
I loved Unsolved Mysteries. It scared the hell out of me. I watched it every week. This is when it was like it had gotten a little bit too much of like lost loves and like, found fortunes and all that stuff where I was like, yeah. But there's a really weird show on. It was a very short-lived sitcom. It's called Welcome to New York, and it stars Christine Baranski, Judd Hirsch, and stand-up comedian. I don't know if you saw him on the page here. It is on page 1. Where are we? It's Jim Gaffigan.
Oh, damn. Where's baby Jim at?
Yeah, he's right there looking at Judd Hirsch like, what's going on?
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, which is real weird. And he had been in a few sitcoms that nobody remembers. And I don't know if he pops up in the weirdest stuff. He's in made-for-TV horror movie called Crybaby Lane. And Jim Gaffigan's just like randomly in it. I don't know why. And then Normal Ohio, which was a show I don't remember, but it stars John Goodman.
Oh yeah.
And
damn, he was also in there's a TV show. Oh man. It's about like the lead is like a woman who's like group of guy friends. It's like a group of like 5 or 6 guy friends that are like her besties basically. And he's in it and he's very fun in it.
Not the New Girl.
Not New Girl. No, it's pre that. It's like they're all like sports announcers or something.
Oh, I can't think of what it is now. But I love him in everything, like except those online gambling ads that he's in where he's a finger. Those are pretty terrifying.
Yeah, those are upsetting. And you're also like, buddy, I think you don't need this.
He's one of those guys that I guess you could argue was also a movie star. Like way more movies than Roseanne that he starred in. He was in Babe, King Ralph, Matinee. Like he was in a ton of movies, but no one ever considered him a movie actor.
Yeah. That's so weird. Oh, here it is. It's called My Boys. And it was on TBS. And a female sports columnist in Chicago deals with the men in her life, including her brother, her best friend, and a sports writer for a rival publication. So it's like her and like her like 3 besties who are all dudes.
And I bet John Goodman owns like a bar they hang out at. That's my guess.
Feels like it, right?
I picture him with a towel over his shoulder. I've never seen the show, but that's what I'm seeing in my mind.
I think you're right. You're right.
Sounds right. It just feels right. Anything else on Wednesday?
No, that was about it, I think, on Wednesday.
I've noticed a weird phenomenon this week where previously, I think on Monday night, there was an episode of Dharma and Greg, which is a show that I never really watched. But the plot is that Dharma's mother, who's like 50 or 60 in the show, is pregnant. Mm-hmm. And then on Wednesday night, there's a made-for-TV movie called Love Lessons starring Ronnie Cox and Patty Duke. And it says, at 50, they were ready to sail around the world. Now a surprise pregnancy is about to rock their boat. They're ready for a new life, and they got one.
Man, everyone's so fertile in the 2000s.
Yeah, those boomers are
Jeez.
Man. And then there's a show that I don't remember at all. That was a new series from the creator of Sex and the City called The Street. She's bright, beautiful, and ruthless, and she's about to make a killing on Wall Street. I'm kind of intrigued by that show.
I am too. I mean, if you worked on Wall Street, you could buy a lot of Manolo Blahniks. So
that's true.
I'm curious to see.
And it stars Bridgette Wilson, who was in, I think, Mortal Kombat. Was it Mortal Kombat she was in?
Yeah.
And she was in not Happy Gilmore. The other,
she was on she was on the Surreal Life season, and then Flavor of Love as well. Or
no, that's Bridgette Nielsen.
Oh, who am I thinking of? That's who I'm thinking of.
This is Bridgette Wilson. She was the love interest in Billy Madison.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, and I think she was like Sonya Blade, I think, in their first Mortal Kombat. She just kind of disappeared and was in a bunch of stuff, but this show sounds oddly interesting. And Gideon's Crossing is on, a show that I didn't know if it was a cop show, a doctor show, or a god show, which this ad did not help me because he's dressed as a doctor, but he has like a coat on, like a longer than normal doctor coat that kind of looks like a detective coat. And it says, tonight, Gideon plays God. Tonight, who lives and dies depends on names pulled out of a hat. I'm like, is this a reality show? Because I would watch that.
Yeah, I would watch that too. That sounds fun as hell, actually.
We're not that far from that being a show. Like just
no, we're
lottery.
Really not.
Well, pass the hat around. Maybe Andy Dick could be on that. Thursday night. What are you doing?
Thursday night there is a show. So this would also be Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving night, I would watch a show called Ambulance Arrive Alive. Because it just feels that there'd be a lot of like weird slow motion reenactment in it, and after eating turkey, I think the slow motion reenactment would like be the best way to digest it.
I do mention, and it's outside the purview that I gave you, so this is unfair of me, but because it is Thanksgiving, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is on. I've only missed one in my life, and it's when I lived in the UK. I've watched every one since 1980. I still watch it every year. It's like my favorite thing all year. And
that's adorable. I love that.
The most upset for COVID this year because I was like, are we not going to have a Macy's parade? It's the only time I see anything that has to do with Broadway. Very excited. This was the 74th annual one. This is the most 2000 lineup I've ever seen. So,
okay.
Scheduled to appear include the music world's Hanson, Jessica Simpson, BB Mac, Aaron Carter, Kenny Chesney, Jennifer Day, Sarah Evans in Innocence, which is spelled wrong. Joining the Helium Balloon Brigade are 4 newcomers: band leader Mickey Mouse, Dragon Tales Cassie, Jeeves and Ronald McDonald. Jeeves is from Ask Jeeves.
Oh, wow.
So if you don't remember, pre-Google, there was a search engine called Ask Jeeves, and the whole thing was like it was a butler that would go get the info on the web for you. And for the year 2000, there was an Ask Jeeves balloon that I totally forgot about.
Holy shit. Wow.
Now I need to know how long it lasts. I would be shocked if it made it more than maximum 2 Macy's parades.
Yeah, probably not. Man, that would be a really psychotic podcast to do, is just like watch a different Macy's parade every year and then like really comment on what the hell's happening in them.
I do have them all.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
who? You know
just
who
pitching it for you.
goes to the Macy's parade every year? This would surprise you. Greg Proops.
Really? Oh, that does surprise me, but it's very endearing too.
If you follow Greg on Twitter, I love Greg. Every year, he's always at the Macy's parade. He stays in the same apartment, so he always takes pictures of the balloons, like looking down on them. So,
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to ask Greg if he's got a snap of the Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
He remembers it. So yeah, that's in the morning. So that night you're watching Ambulance at 8:00.
Watching Ambulance, but then also I'll be switching back and forth between that and the original Austin Powers and International Man of Mystery, because they do have a full page ad that says Happy Shagsgiving, yeah, baby. And that would be enough to sway me, I think, to watch it.
I always love when they try to make, because there are certain movies that have nothing to do with holidays that have become holiday traditions. So like earlier in the week, Wizard of Oz was on. And for years, that was like Wizard of Oz was the annual Christmas tradition. Like it was always on TV around Christmas time for whatever reason. Nothing to do with Christmas, but people associated it with Christmas after that. By 2000, they kind of had moved it to be like a Thanksgiving movie for some reason, because I think they were like, we get enough Christmas movies. We need Thanksgiving movies. Make that one. And so every year or so, they'd try to make like a different movie, like a holiday movie. And for like 2 or 3 years, they really did try to make Austin Powers the Thanksgiving movie. And
They tried so hard.
Yes. Yes. It makes no sense.
Makes zero sense. No.
People love that movie, but no one was like, it's Thanksgiving. We got to watch Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Is there a Thanksgiving movie that you watch every year?
Beetlejuice weirdly kind of feels very Thanksgiving to me. I feel like we would go over to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving a lot as kids, and like that was like the most adult movie that we were allowed to watch. So that always makes me feel like the holidays have started is when I finally watch Beetlejuice.
Well, it's probably because in the in the dinner scene, they're attacked by Paul Sorvino shrimp.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. It's a family sitting around a table, and it just feels, it's got that like, I wished that would happen to our family, because then we'd have something to talk about that wouldn't be an argument.
Also, I loved ER. Quality show I put in the category of very well done. Never want to see it again. Because
100%.
it's so depressing. Sally Field is in this episode, and they are advertising it as a special Thanksgiving ER.
Oh, great.
Why? It's like, I don't want to see a special Thanksgiving ER. Like, I feel so. This episode is Abby battles with her mom, Sally Field, while Sherry's mother shows up at the hospital. Both Corday and Green fall ill, and an explosion occurs. Burying the lead there.
Damn.
I would think that would be the first thing you would talk about, rather than, well, it is Sally Field. I don't know. She's won an Oscar. Friday night, final night of the week. What are you doing?
Oh man, this is hard because like there was not a lot happening on this Friday night. I think because it's like the day after a whatchamacallit, like a big holiday, they were like weren't programming too much. Because I was trying to figure out, because this was when TGIF was on Friday,
but it had just sort of
it's not really here anymore.
It had because Sabrina had been poached by the WB. So that was on WB at this time. Family Matters had already ended after doing a season on UPN, I think. And
Step by Step was gone already.
Step by Step was way gone. Boy Meets World was way gone. So I think they had just done, there was like 2 or 3 years where TGIF was gone.
I mean, what a nightmare, because TGIF was like, when I got this, I was like, oh, I already know what Friday is going to be, whatever that TGIF lineup is. And then I got this, and I was like, it's the fucking Fugitive and CSI is in those time slots. What the hell?
Yeah. They were like, oh, it's done. Because I miss those nights of TV like a hosted night of television.
Same. 100%.
Because a lot of those shows were terrible.
Yeah.
But it was exciting when like, oh, the Family Matters gang is hosting the whole night. And you got these like special, it was, I don't know what the equivalent would be. There's no real non-sad way to say it. Like it felt like you were watching it with your buddies.
Yeah. No, totally. It really did feel that way. And then like, honestly, you'd come in from school the next day and you'd like have like that thing that it was like, event watching TV with your friends and stuff.
But in hindsight, very surreal, because these people are commenting on watching their own show.
Yeah. Once you grow up, a lot of things aren't as magical as they used to be.
In character too. Like they were never like, hey, I'm Jaleel White. Let's see what Urkel's up to this week. It was like Urkel introducing the episode. Like tonight on the TV show I'm a part of that you're going to watch and we are too.
Yeah.
Like this is existential. This is very weird.
Totally.
There's an ad for QVC in here on Friday night. And
gotta get that Friday night infomercial in, baby.
It's advertising a very special product. They're dedicating a full hour to this product. And it is maybe the most 2000 product that you could find. And I don't know if you've seen the page here, but it's about 6 p.m. on Friday. It's advertising from 6 to 7 p.m. on QVC. The holidays are almost here. Time to step on it and get the hottest thing going. Any guesses?
Oh, I don't know.
Step on it is a clue.
Dance Dance Revolution.
A razor scooter.
Oh, wow. This was the 2000. We've had razor scooters since 2000?
This was the year of the razor scooter.
Damn. Wow, that makes me feel old in a way that nothing else really does. It's a very specific kind of old that I'm feeling right now.
It was the hottest toy that year. And this is when we had like all the .com, like people in offices riding a razor scooter around. And like, it was the new skateboard, the razor scooter.
That's so funny.
A whole hour on QVC about razor scooters.
I would actually really I would watch that. I would watch the hour of razor scooter footage because it's like weird, like old people like trying to be hip and cool talking about a razor scooter that's very fun to me.
As a performer, do you find those home shopping things as fascinating as I do, just in the aspect of these people need to talk about nothing, just absolute bullshit for like a full hour with no silences?
Oh, for sure. I mean, honestly, I think that like podcasters would be very good at having a QVC of some kind. Like it's just the ability to just not even know what because like, I don't know if you're like this, but like sometimes I'll finish a podcast and I'll close my computer and be like, what did you just say for the last hour?
You went into a fugue.
Yeah, you just go into a weird fugue state where you're not really aware of what happens. I'll listen back afterwards and be like, oh, that was funny. I don't remember saying that at all.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And it's such a weird skill set that it's very impressive that these people can talk about these things. And then they also have to take calls sometimes from like really confused old people who are talking about nothing, like, which is like extra nothing.
How do you use it?
Yeah. That would actually be a good improv show if you did like a fake home shopping club thing and they had to talk about, and then you get thrown phone calls and everything. We're just so rich from all the shows we created tonight.
We honestly really are. It's like, if people are listening, like, let's do this. We're killing it.
We have so much money. All right. So Friday night, no TGIF, just movies. So what did you end up doing?
Well, what did I pick here? I mean, probably European Vacation. I think of the stuff that is on.
The weakest
although I
Vacation?
National Lampoon European Vacation.
Would you find that to be the weakest in the series? I don't count.
I do. Yeah,
Vegas.
It is. Yeah, I do think it's the weak. I actually think it's even weaker than Vegas. But yeah, it's not my favorite. But oh no, Muppets from Space is on. I've watched Muppets from Space.
Okay, good call.
That's what I would watch. Although there is a show that is on at 8:30 on Bravo called Smack the Pony.
Yes,
and I don't know what that is, but I would probably flip over to check it out.
You would love that show. It's a British all-female sketch comedy show.
Ooh.
And it had a bunch of people that you've seen show up in stuff like Toast. And have you seen Toast of London?
Oh, yeah.
So
I love it. Matt Berry's massive fan.
Dune McKenna, who plays his agent, she got started on Smack the Pony. She's in that sketch show. And there's a few other I think like 5 or 6 cast members, but it's a pretty cool, like weird, irreverent British sketch show that I remember seeing on Bravo at the time and thinking was pretty good. I haven't revisited it since then, so it may be terrible, but I remember thinking it was very good. And was unusual to see on TV at that time. Norm Macdonald's sitcom is on.
Oh, funny. Yes, I forgot about Norm.
It was really good. It was basically everyone who worked on Roseanne. and Joe Beth Williams is in this episode. Johnny Galecki was in it. But it was Laurie Metcalf was on it. It was a really good show and only lasted one season for whatever reason. People just weren't having it. And the revamped Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, now just known as Two Guys and a Girl, the show that brought us Ryan Reynolds.
It's true. It's crazy to see how far he's come. I just saw him. He posted a picture of him with The Rock on Instagram today, and I was like, damn, you used to have highlights, and you were in a pizza shop.
You were in 15 on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't even know what I'd do at 9. Oh, Popular's on. I loved that show. Did you ever watch that?
I know. What was Popular?
So Popular was on the WB, and it was sort of like it was vaguely Freaks and Geeksy, but a little bit more cartoonish. And it was about these two girls in the same grade. One's like the popular girl, one's like the angsty gothy teen, and their parents get married. So they have to be like stepsisters. And it was just like a high school comedy. Delta Burke was in it. It was a really funny, good show.
Does sound fun.
Person who created it went on to do something that got big later, and I can't remember what it is now, and someone will read it and tell me. But it was a quality show. Only one season. But I did enjoy that show. That is the week. Anything else that we missed here?
That's all for the stuff, but I will say a couple more pages, but right before the end, there's a letters section, and apparently there was something that they wrote about. They must have written something derogatory about Eminem.
Yes.
In the week's previous episode. Did you see this?
No.
And there's like a letter that's just like, after reading your article on Eminem, The Mouth That Roared, October 21st, I was very upset. I listened to Eminem with my 14-year-old daughter. We discussed his lyrics, what they mean and what he means. Yes, some of them are very blunt, but life is blunt. Parents should listen to his words and not be afraid of them. I'm like, I just love that somebody was like, no, how dare you talk about Eminem this way?
So this is when Stan had just come out, because earlier in the issue, there's a big article about Dido.
Oh,
so
I see.
I think that was the controversy here because like he kills his wife or something in that song.
Yeah.
And then there's like the opposite of that letter under it, written by somebody from Maynard, Mass, Janet Beatrice Orchesky. If anyone knows her, of the people that I know here in Massachusetts, put me in touch with Janice Beatrice Orchesky, although I suspect she's an older lady and probably not with us anymore. But this says, yes, Eminem is entitled to free speech. As long as the media takes him seriously, his free speech will be heard loud and clear, while that of a more talented musician with less sensationalistic messages will be drowned out.
Damn, Janice. Let him know. They gotta know what time it is. She's not an Eminem stan, that's for sure.
She is not. And then this is almost a theme showcase of letters about musicians, because then the only other letter is about Rick Springfield, who apparently had just been arrested, which I don't remember.
Neither do I.
What was Rick Springfield thinking when he appeared on the VH1 special after his arrest? Probably that he'd rather set the record straight than let the media run wild with a story that was overblown, given that all the charges were dropped. What you saw was grace under pressure.
Somebody's got a little crush on Rick Springfield.
I think
That's
so.
What that tells me.
They're
God
into
damn.
the Ricker. They've done everything for him. So then to wrap up here, I just wanted to read you the Cheers and Jeers of this week.
Oh, yes.
Because TV Guide has opinions, and it Cheers and Jeers. And I wanted to see if you agree or disagree with the Cheers and Jeers this week. It's a 50-50 week. We got 2 cheers, 2 jeers.
Okay.
We start with a jeer. Jeers to the sophomore curse. Everyone knows that a copycat trend of the new TV season is the big city guy returns to small town premise. But there's another fad that should have successful TV actors taking notice. The big star returns in terrible show trend. Steven Weber, friend of the show, been on the show, poor Steven, has gone from Wings to Cursed. John Goodman from Roseanne to Normal, Ohio. And Michael Richards from Seinfeld to The Michael Richards Show. Each move was an ill-conceived effort to cash in on an actor's former success without having a solid concept for a new show. All 3 comedies underwent massive last-minute overhauls, including name changes just before the debuts. Now comes word that Ellen DeGeneres has scrapped the original idea for her in the works return to series to television. She was going to play a host of a show within a show, a la the Larry Sanders Show, but the new concept, big city girl returns to small town. No, there's a thought.
Oh man, this is I miss this kind of like catty meow TV writing.
I do too.
This is fun. This is like written by somebody who's given zero fucks. They're just like, I'm not gonna try to get a better job in the industry. My job is Cheers and Jeers, and I don't care who I upset when I get into my jeers.
The best thing about Cheers and Jeers, no one signs it. Totally,
No one signs it.
TV Guide writers, which is great.
Respect the hell out of it.
The next thing's a little bit weird because one of these people's a piece of shit. Cheers to a frightful Halloween trick. Or was it a treat? Take your pick, but in either case, Matt Lauer's arrival on the Halloween edition of NBC's Today Show in the most famous dress since Monica Lewinsky stopped shopping at the Gap had to be a career highlight of some sort. Strutting into the studio as Jennifer Lopez on the arm of Al Roker's Sean Puffy Combs showed his terrific sense of humor, along with a great set of gams. No candy, though, for the Sci-Fi Channel's scarily bad coverage of New York's Village Halloween Parade. We'll chalk it up to being a parade novice. Why did the Sci-Fi Channel?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
And there's a photo here of Matt Lauer dressed as J-Lo with Jennifer. It's bad.
It's really bad. It's a look. He's not great. He would get kicked off first on Drag Race. I'll say that much. I
do remember that same year when Matt Stone and Trey Parker showed up high on LSD at the Oscars dressed in the Jennifer Lopez dress.
That was a definite cheer. This is a jeer. I never want to fully jeer Al Roker, but I will jeer Matt Lauer because he's a fucking creep.
And I bet he thought he was just the fun. Yeah, fuck you, Matt Lauer.
For sure.
Jeers to Big Mouth Lucy. No, not the Peanuts character. We're talking about the receptionist on The Practice. We know Lucy, played by Marla Sokoloff, is supposed to be charmingly annoying, but the charm part escapes us. On October 25th.
Damn, this is brutal.
Like, this poor girl's just being an actor. Lucy gathered the lawyers together to reveal that she's found a used pregnancy test, positive of course, in the ladies' restroom and a child rearing book in the office. Who was preggers? She demanded to know. Somehow the lawyers seem to think this was yet another of her endearing little quirks, but we can't imagine anyone in real life, particularly at a law firm, surviving with her job, not to mention her overworked jaws, intact after such a tacky stunt.
Damn.
So that's it. Like, I should have fucking just punched her in the face and fired her.
Oh my God. This is a person that what that feels so personal. That feels like what happened here.
Yeah. Someone at work asked me if I was pregnant and this show can fuck off.
Exactly.
What a weird thing to be so mad about.
What? That's such a specific small thing too. Oh my God.
I wonder if Marla Sokoloff ever saw that. She's on Instagram. I should scan this and ask her if she ever read this.
You ever see this? You should find out who this person is and fight him.
They said you wouldn't survive with your overworked jaws.
Yeah.
And finally, cheers to a transfusion of new blood. One of VR's executive producers, Neil Baer, is leaving the hospital for the police station, giving us hope that NBC's Law and Order Special Victims Unit can be given some creative life. Even if he can't do anything about the sleazy sex crime premise, Baer, a major force behind ER, just might have what it takes to make SUV something more than a second-rate spinoff.
Oh boy, yes he did.
And there's yet another reason to cheer the arrival. Maybe now SVU creator Dick Wolf can turn his focus back to the original Law and Order, which frankly could use his attention. What was once amongst the best dramas on television has over the past year become increasingly formulaic, preachy, and constrained by its relentless adherence to actual news stories and headlines. Wolf has announced plans for another offshoot series, but we'd be happy just to get the original Law back in order.
That's so funny. that one is so funny because, man, did not age well because SVU is the jam.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways they're very right. In some ways, incredibly wrong at the same time. It's almost impressive.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love like, man, this little like anonymous writer. Just this guy. This is like you used to get paid to be a commenter on Reddit. It used to be a job. Now everybody does this shit for free. Now this used to be a talent. You had a resume that you were the Cheers and Jeers writer. And
this would get to him. Like, Dick Wolf saw that.
Oh, for sure.
Like, there's no way. Like, his clipping service would have put that on his desk one morning. He would have been like, Jesus.
I can't believe this. They don't like SVU?
Damn it. We got to make it better and make it a show that's on for 48 years.
Yeah, exactly. Also, it's like we love Mariska Hargitay.
Yeah.
And fucking, this is the what do you? It's insane to like be so anti SVU, and looking back, it's like that's also the formulaicness is part of the charm of it.
When people watch it, it's oddly comforting, even though it's about horrible things.
Yeah, it's extremely comforting, and it's people love it for reason, for all the reasons this guy hates these shows. It is why they are popular. Or I assume it's a man. Not to put that on them. Or
no,
not,
I think you're probably right. You're probably right. I don't think I've ever heard anyone complain about SVU plots.
No, that's not how you.
No, or even discuss them, frankly.
Damn, that's so funny.
Yeah, and without that show, every comedian in New York wouldn't have gotten a TV credit playing a murderer or child molester.
Exactly. Look, people got to eat.
It's true.
SVU put a lot of food in a lot of mouths.
It's true. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad we finally got to do it. I've wanted to have you on the show for a long time.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. This was awesome. Thank you for letting me go down memory lane with this old issue of the TV Guide.
Quite welcome. There you go. That's Brandie. This may have been the most times 9/11 has come up in an episode, although somebody better at statistics who listens to the show can probably tell me if I'm wrong or not. Again, she's very funny. Check out Lady to Lady. Check out Picture This and her stand-up. Go see her live if you are able, if there are live shows where you are, or you can get to where she's doing live shows where she are. There's a lot of verbal. This is verbal gymnastics as opposed to vocal gymnastics, which is how I like to sing with my fantastic 28 octave range. But don't look that up because it's not a thing. Speaking of things that are things, you can email me, tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or ken@icanread.com. Also on all the social media at Kenneth W. Reed or at TV Guidance. Thanks again to our patrons. I still haven't jumped back into the con scene or really doing a lot of shows or anything. So your contributions are essential to keeping the show going as we barrel towards episode 500. This is exciting for me. Hopefully it's exciting for you. And speaking of exciting, next week's episode will certainly be exciting. So I'll see you again next time on a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
It was not a bit